coming down. Today is on e-commerce growth strategies that leading retailers wish they had known earlier. Obviously, over the past sort of 18 months, 2 years, there's been a bit of a change in circumstances in terms of retailers online. So what we're going to be exploring today is looking at what is the impact of those changes and where have the opportunities arisen within different types of businesses. So I'm Elliot. I'm a senior customer success manager over at Bidnamic, and we have some wonderful panelists here today. And I look like a boy band, but I'll let them introduce themselves. So firstly, we have
Mike Harris from Shrine and Refi. So I'm head of marketing for both of those companies at the moment.
I'm Max Wright from Medisave UK. We sell medical goods.
I'm Liam Patterson, the CEO of Bidnamic, a Google shopping specialist. I'll leave that to Elliot.
My name's James Lees. I'm head of client services at Salesfire. So we have a range of tools that help increase e-commerce conversion rates.
Perfect. So first, just to sort of kick off, what have been a key change in your business process in terms of adapting to sort of the escalation that's happened over the last 2 years?
Do you want it from in regard to our clients or from Salesfire perspective?
Take it how you like it.
So clients, what we found a lot recently, to be fair, is the importance of being different and personalising the experience that customers have on site. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of retailers can be quite... I think lazy is the wrong word, but I'll use it anyway in regards to I'll shot a product on there, I'll shot some ads and suddenly people will buy it. But if you want to increase your average order value, that lifetime customer, things like that, you have to be different. You have to personalise that experience. And if you don't, that customer will probably go elsewhere. Mm-hmm. The online consumer can be quite fickle. They will generally go price is the most important factor for a lot of them. But if you can do a lot to personalise their experience, keep them engaged with your brand, that's what keeps that customer with you a long time. And we found that a lot recently. And those are the ones that during this strange and unique 18 months that we've had have really had a successful time.
Okay, perfect. And Liam?
Yeah, so I think across the over 200 clients, I think we've seen this huge wave of growth in e-commerce where really just having the product was enough to get a lot of sales. And then in the last, say, 6 months, we've seen a shift. And actually media budgets have gone up. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of new e-commerce stores that have been born, maybe on platforms like Shopify and Magento and other platforms where they've been able to quickly move into e-commerce and get online, get acquisition, get customers. But now what we've found is that as people can now go on holiday, they can go to events, they can go on, do other activities other than buying online, that the competition is still there, but the volume has come down. And that's really created a gap which is starting to get really, really difficult for a lot of online retailers.
Perfect. And Max, you're quite uniquely placed in a pandemic, being a sort of a medical supply company.
Yeah, we've had massive success, which feels a bit gross to say, profiting off all the horrible stuff. But yeah, it's been great. And one of the things we've found really helps us is finding people who are out there looking for us but don't know we exist. Mm-hmm. When people are spending more time at home, they're spending more time researching where to buy. If they find a company they want to buy with, looking into, is it an ethical company to buy with? Do they offer good services? And we found it really important to go to places like Reddit or other forums where people are searching for us, and we can answer those questions directly saying, yeah, you can trust us.
And in terms of sales, obviously, I imagine there's been quite an increase in your capacity that's needed.
Absolutely.
So how has that sort of shifted where your marketing strategy's gone?
Well, it's just allowed us to spend more money, pretty much. Our margins have gone up. The just overall conversion value is going up. So, yeah, more money.
Fair enough. And Mike?
Talking about Shrine here, I guess we were in a unique position where we were focused on events, a lot of festivals pre-COVID. Obviously, all of that went out of the window when we hit the pandemic. So we had to change and pivot as a business, which was difficult. But we were also quite fortunate that we launched a product at the time, which was there we go. Sorry about that. Which was a hair dye product. So we actually changed our whole strategy as a business at that time, so that we were focused on hair care. We weren't focused on events. We weren't focused on necessarily festivals anymore. It was we are this brand that caters to people who are now at home when salons have shut. Mm-hmm. So demand overnight increased, impressions increased almost double overnight, and we were in a place where we were quite fortunate to have this new product on the market market, to serve that demand and basically to hit people and to try and serve in front of them. So it was actually quite successful, so much so in a similar situation where our revenue doubled. 80% of our sales then started coming through from this new product that we'd just launched, and other problems arose from that, I guess, which was getting stock in fast enough and everything else in between. But the initial demand and serving those customers was there, and like I say, we were fortunate enough to have that product at the time that we did.
Yeah, fantastic. And in terms of the customers that are coming through, so you mentioned there that your revenue doubled as a result. Is that from returning customers, or that is a large portion attributed to new customers coming through? Because being heard in this sort of environment that we're in at the minute, there's been a lot of retailers have popped up out of nowhere, sort of bedroom businesses as they're called, but they've escalated their growth rapidly. So how has that sort of impacted how you're approaching? Is there any particular channels that you're focusing on to beat competition?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I say, we did have a large proportion of people who were buying from us already. Like I say, we had a big customer base of people from the festival market. I think about 30% of the sales that we had were coming from those returning customers. But as I said before, a large proportion of that, the remaining 70%, was from new customers. Obviously, the reason that we're here today is to talk about Google Shopping and those new searches that we'd never seen before. A lot of terms that we'd never ranked for organically, a lot of terms that we weren't paying for on paid search and ranking for on shopping. So yeah, like I say, that demand came through that sort of higher funnel, upper funnel terms that we hadn't ever been seen to serve before. So yeah, vast majority new customers.
That's fantastic. Yeah, cool. And Max, so in terms of the capacity that you've had in terms of growth over the last sort of 2 years, is there any particular channels that you found have been particularly working well for you over others, or has it just been growth across the board? What are your key growth areas?
It has been growth across the board, but I'd say we've seen a particular uptake in social media. We already had a pretty large social media presence anyway, but as I mentioned before, with people spending more time online and, everyone's working from home, and even though they say they're working from home, they'll be on their computer looking at...
Working.
Yeah, working. So we found a lot of revenue coming in through social media, and we found it really worthwhile building a personality on social media, just sharing memes, stuff like that. We did a tier list the other day on the best kind of biscuit, which is totally unrelated, but a massive increase in...
With Bobbins at the top,
interaction rate.
They need to be at the top. Bobbins need to be there.
Biscoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And Liam, in terms of sort of the granular approach in terms of data, because you're very data-driven, AOV, LTV, so lifetime value, how are you taking a different tact towards redefining your goals within those sort of metrics?
Yeah, great question. So I think, as we kind of touched on, e-commerce has got more competitive, it's more difficult, there's more retailers, and retailers need to be more sophisticated. So as we're getting all this wave of competition, we need to find how can we stand out. So that can be finding the right channel to grow through, which has the lowest cost of getting that customer. That could be Amazon for your business, it could be Facebook, social, it could be paid search, so Google Shopping, obviously being a major one there. And then it's about really what data can you feed in to be smarter, because you know your business better than anyone else. So we've got the majority of our clients are using their cost of goods sold, so they're able to understand when they're advertising a product which is high margin, where they've got 80% margin, and also those when they've only got 10% margin, because they can't afford to pay the same to sell each product. So it's about really getting granular. We've also heard the value there from yourself around the search terms. So being able to understand what are people actually typing in when they're going to Google to find your products, super valuable, because then you can zero in, increase your visibility on high return on investment search terms, which are maybe more detailed, maybe they're including brands, model numbers, sizes, maybe they're using search terms you just never even consider they would search for. And that can be really useful to then build out SEO content, maybe do some interesting social polls around biscuits, who knows. So yeah, I'd say using your own data and making sure you're putting it to work for the business.
Anything to add to that?
Yeah, first of all, custard creams, best biscuit for me if you, on that one. But for me, it's so Liam's touched in regards to sophistication and what's happening pre-click on your website. I kind of relay that sophistication on site as well. Every e-commerce retailer should have a search bar. How's that search bar converting for yourself? What keywords are getting searched on there, and are they converting? If they're not converting, can you optimize your product feed to appear for these kinds of searches? For example, Salesforce, we have a search solution. That's what a lot of our clients have been working hard towards. So as you might have, let's say you're selling furniture. People are typing in coffee tables. You might not be converting. The coffee tables you're showing, based on your product feed, might not be right. Maybe you need a promo unit to say, no, this is why I should buy our coffee table, something along them lines. Again, people might be dropping off your website on a certain page, certain category page. Why is that? Analyze that data. You've worked hard, you've paid money to get someone to click on your website. Work even harder to keep them on to convert. If you don't, you're going to be losing that. You're wasting money. Simple as that.
Yeah. Has there been any surprising takeaways that you've found in terms of speaking with those type of retailers over the last sort of 18 months?
It hasn't been surprising, no, because the ones who work harder in regards to analysing that data are the ones that have been more successful and keeping them customers for a long time. The ones that will rely on just what's happening, paying for traffic, yeah, they're making money. A lot of people have, like you said, there's been a lot of startups, bedroom businesses coming up over this last year. But I think that they'll eventually hit a ceiling where, okay, I need to work a little bit smarter here. I need to look at this data more wisely and to make that convert better. Like you say, you're going to plough thousands of pounds into Google Shopping. If that's not going to convert to what you need, post-click, you're going to be wasting money in the day.
Yeah. And in terms of sort of that on-site optimization, so a huge portion of that is looking at sort of how you can increase not only your customer base, but also how large that initial purchase is. Yeah. So in terms, can you speak a little bit about sort of average order value and how you've taken your steps towards that?
Yeah, so from a Salesforce perspective, we've worked very hard with a lot of our clients in regards to what's important to you. Is it conversion rate? Is it average order value? So average order value is one of the most important metrics. And last year we launched something called Trend Desk, and somewhere in here might use it. It's a free tool anyway, but it gives you benchmarking data based on your industry, and you can actually see if your average order value is keeping up with people in your industry. And if it isn't, it's something to really analyse and look more towards, like, how can I increase my basket value? Is it making my on-site experience more personalised? How am I cross-selling, upselling more products on there? Are people adding to basket and leaving? Them kinds of situations. It's a very, very important metric, but again, it's the retailers that have worked smart with that data that have really seen the success from it. It's all well and good getting the data, but you've got to action something on it as well. You've got to understand how to action that, and speak to people who know this information. It will pay benefit for them.
Yeah. So Liam, anything to add?
Yeah, I suppose also taking the data right from the top of the funnel. So looking at, okay, maybe the average order values dropped that week, that day. Why is that? What can we find out about it? We've not changed anything. It's the same. We're using the same best tools, best-in-class tools, like Salesforce on the platform. The site speed's good. What's changed? The marketing spend's the same. But being able to look at the search terms so valuable, because you might say, okay, that people a huge volume of search has come through on lower value items. Or what we actually sometimes see is products which are kind of gateway products, but people are actually discounting. So people are clicking on £2,000 beautiful set of curtains, but leaving with a $200 set of curtains. So again, it's not only that we're getting the clicks on the high value products, but it might actually be driving down the basket value, or the reverse. We work with a golf retailer who sell really low value golf balls as part of their website inventory, but actually people click on them and add many, many items, a ping jumper, a golf set, and actually check out for over $300. So again, looking at not only what items are we getting clicks on, but what actually average order value is coming from that, and also what search terms. Because if people are putting in discounted golf clubs, discounted, cheap X, that's going to lead to that type of customer who's very, very price driven. Equally, if people are typing in more model numbers, more detailed terms, they're already at that point to buy. So that might be why they're adding and growing your average order value, growing your conversion rate. So again, looking at what items are getting clicks, what items are going through in the basket, and also looking at the search term data as well can really help to solve that.
Perfect. And Max, in terms of sort of trends over over the last year, as sort of the world's opened back up, obviously non-essential retail opening back up in April, having an effect on what would usually be a busy period over summer, has kind of it's escalated it a little bit earlier in the actual year. Has that affected any of your sales trends that you would normally see spikes or dips?
Well, we're actually quite lucky that this time of year, September more so, we have loads and loads of students buying with us, because we've got young doctors, stuff like that, buying with us. We find it really important to create a relationship with those people, just because someone who's a student doctor now will be a future doctor, hopefully, and will be spending a lot more money with us. So yeah, that's been...
So it's stayed pretty stalwart for you.
Yeah, so just using the data to understand how people use our site. We've been using heat maps a lot to see where they're going, what they're looking at, and using that information to, as I say, create relationships with customers, make it feel like they're having a unique experience on our site.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And Mike?
So again, coming out of lockdown, I think what it allowed us to do when I said the search demand doubled was getting a lot of that data. So it was very rich data then when we came out of it. So we knew which terms worked and which terms didn't work. So we were getting, cheaper clicks, I guess, on terms that we know would convert. So actually, as a business now that we've come out, we were exclusive with Boots with some of our sort of B2B sales. We've since launched into ASOS, Look Fantastic, and lots of other online retailers who are obviously competing with us in all of this in the same space that we are now. But the difference, I guess, that we've got is when we were solely direct to consumer on our online store and we had that rich data and 18 months of data, it's almost allowed us to hold our own. We've built our customer base and we're also converting on those same terms that we have built over that time period. So I guess the short answer there is no, I guess we haven't seen a huge impact. We're definitely seeing less sales, I guess, just as a result of everywhere else opening up. But it's an additional revenue stream rather than necessarily being a huge impact to us, and we look at it quite holistically.
Fair enough. So in terms of sort of wrapping up, we will have questions straight after, but what would be your one key takeaway if you could speak to yourself from 2 years ago in terms of e-commerce growth strategies?
Yeah.
Like, what would be the one thing you wish you knew back then?
I'd say personalise the experience. It wasn't such a big thing 2 years ago, but the competition just rocketed like that. Demand rocketed alongside it, but yeah, it's personalising the experience and making sure that as a brand and as an experience, you are personalising that to the person that's there. Such as Max was saying in regards to the content you're putting on social media. Have a personality. I know it's business at the end of the day, but have a bit of personality of what you're saying. Because as the age-old saying, people buy from people. Your brand is led by people. Have that personality on there.
Fair enough. And Liam?
Yeah, I think it's data. Like, be data obsessed. Make sure you're capturing it or you're working with partners that are giving you that data. You're not losing it. You're not handing it over to providers where you can't access that data. It's your data. Make sure you're absolutely capturing it all. Make sure you've got a partner or in-house team who can really interrogate that data to really understand the story the data is telling you. And then finally, make sure you've got a partner you can or in-house team where you can action that data as well. So you're collecting, interrogating, and actioning as well. I think they're the absolute key to it because it's like an arms race. Every retailer is getting smarter and smarter. The competition's getting smarter and smarter. There's so much money flowing into e-commerce as a sector, both from consumers but also from venture funds, and that's really, really heating the market up, and you need to be as smart as you can be and use that data to do that.
Just to sort of edge on that a little bit more, is what's the most efficient way of collecting that data? Because obviously there's everyone here. Actually, just a show of hands, how many retailers are in the audience? And software providers? Cool. So what would you say would be the most efficient way of collecting that data? Because it can be quite laborious if you're doing it in a manual. It could take a lot of time. So what would be the most efficient way of doing it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be different for every single channel, but I can certainly speak to Google AdWords and Google Shopping. So make sure that you're running on a campaign type which is giving you the access to the keywords, performance, and is grouped in a granular way. So what we mean by that is don't have all of your products in one big group, because then you can't. That's as far as you can go down to is all of the T-shirts, for example, rather than being able to go more granular and see which of those T-shirts is showing up, how often, how much am I spending, and also make sure you're collecting the search terms. So that means you've got to be running on a target ROAS or a manual campaign, not on smart shopping. So if you're on smart shopping, you're getting a lot less visibility of your data, and you're losing all of your search term data. So absolutely key that if you're data driven, if you're data obsessed, we've heard a lot about the importance of keywords and search terms and data. Make sure that you're avoiding smart shopping and using target RAS, manual campaigns, or AI automation providers like ourselves as well.
And Max, your secret to success, let's call it, for if you could tell yourself sort of 2 years ago.
Well, I think Liam might be a mind reader. He said exactly what I was going to say. Just data is so important. I've worked for companies where they just don't seem to care at all. They say, hooray, we've got the sale, and we're done. And there's so much rich information in there that you can learn from. It's absolutely vital.
Yeah, cool. And Mike?
Yeah, so I guess obviously to reiterate that, data is super important, and coming back to the personalisation and conversion from that ultimately is very important. But I think what's been really important for us as a socially first or social native brand is generating that demand and actually driving those searches, driving the sales, and actually building that brand. So coming back to sort of our spend versus our return, the tiny proportion of our spend versus the return is coming on our brand search terms. So we're still covered, we're still ranking for those terms, and that comes from all of the other acquisition channels that we've got out there. So everything complements what we're doing, and this is mopping everything up, and we're looking at the data and we're reconverting, and we're looking at everything post-visit, I guess, after that first initial demand is driven. And then complementing that is with the other 80% of our spend is finding new keywords, new terms, new avenues to drive additional revenue, which isn't necessarily a brand search term, but is going to be profitable as a business and drive new customers to the site.
So it's that brand defensibility. You have that within the data, obviously, with the search terms that you're being pulled through.
Exactly that, yeah. And when we're in these retailers as well, obviously we want to be, we're defending our own brand, because obviously we'd prefer them to buy on our site. So yeah, a brand defense on almost our own products, as well as competing brands who stock the same product as us. Obviously, naturally, we don't want them buying when the intent's for ourselves.
Okay, perfect.